Okay, so 3, 2, 1. Hello, Tom Lavecchia here with the latest edition of the NBA Armchair NBA with my co-host, Brooklyn guy, Vinny Bronco. How you doing today?
How are you, Tom? How was your trip?
It was good, very productive business-wise. I got a lot done. Spent some time in Atlanta, which never really have been there before, but never really did much. So it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool to spend some time, and it was a good trip. Good trip.
Where are other boys?
We're waiting for Joe to come in, and then I'm waiting for Jason and or the Mohawk to come in as well. So let's do some quick shout outs. Tom Lochner, how are you, buddy? Yes, Rutgers. Definitely needs to step it up. Let me just see who else. Yankees for life. Congrats on your win. Edward, hello, buddy. And William, hello. And happy Halloween, Edward, as well.
Happy Halloween. I should actually be at this gig when I do the shows, so at least I have a backdrop. You don't see a dresser, you don't see a cross, you don't see a Beetle figurine.
So tell me what you got going on today, man. It sounds pretty cool.
I'm doing a DJ karaoke party in Whitestone. So I took a 15-minute break so I could run some music, which I had a break coming anyway. And I figured I'd come say hi. So hi.
Beautiful. All right, Joe, if you're watching, I'm dropping the link for you again. And if anybody else wants to jump in, why not? Here's a link. Make it interesting.
What happened with the voting for the 30-30?
So interesting enough is I said to myself, if it reaches 50% or more, I will do it, right? 50% or more. So let's take a look. It'd be interesting. Would be interesting. All right. So share the screen. Let's go to YouTube. Switch accounts. Here. Okay. For the community, let's see what we got. Let's see the drum roll, please. 49% win with 251 votes.
Oh boy.
3 votes away, essentially. How crazy is that?
We have to push this, man, because I was looking forward to that.
Well, let's see what we got. We'll try it. Let's first see Mr. Joe, Bait 8 himself. How you doing?
Hey, how are you? Tom, I'm getting Summit back into work, so I got to split. We're gonna do one tomorrow night.
Yeah, why not?
Okay, happy Halloween, everybody, and I'll see you soon.
All right, man. Have a good one, Ben.
Bye.
Bye.
No, what happened? Why it take so long?
Who are you sending the link to? You have another Joe friend?
Hey, I thought it was you.
Yeah, you might have been sending it to Joe Schmo.
Check your spam.
Yeah. Well, I got it now.
Oh, okay. You got it from the link. You got it from the link.
Right.
Hey, Mickey, how are you? Maverick, we got some people coming in. Did you guys get in on the Shorewin Chemset UFC? I did not. Was that tonight?
Yep.
Yeah.
Or actually, yeah, it was in Abu Dhabi, so it was like the time was all screwed up.
Hey, Carlos.
I think it was last night, but yeah.
Nice. Got JSV. So we are 3. Well, actually, we're 4 out of the 5 horsemen because we got, myself, we got Joe, we got JSV, and we got the Mohawk. Vinny had to get back to work. He popped in. He may pop in again.
Work?
We got Jason and the Mohawk. Jason's Mohawk will.
Vinny's got like a night shift somewhere. What do you mean?
Yeah, he does like.
He's a DJ.
He does karaoke nights. Yeah.
That's why, JSV, you better come with that capital for him. We got to start paying him to work for us.
Wait, he goes to a bar and does karaoke?
No, I think he's a DJ.
Yeah.
What?
DJs. He's a DJ.
He's a karaoke DJ. So what I'm saying is he goes to a bar and he's the karaoke DJ.
Yes.
I think so, yeah. I'm not 100% sure. I was actually going to go tonight, but can't do it.
And he has all the the songs. He has the microphone, the speaker, all that kind of stuff. So it's a pretty big there he is. It's a pretty big setup. And it gets a few bucks to do, which is good, makes some extra cash. and he loves doing it. You know, he's a personable guy. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're gonna do an interesting one tonight with a little round robin, different topics. I want topics from the people below. I want you guys to bring up the topics. So the first topic.
Wait,
on the list,
Tom.
Yeah.
Tom, one thing.
Shoot.
I want to give a shout to Carlos,
Muniz?
Yankees for life.
Nice.
They're definitely good people.
Nice.
Sandy.
Yes.
And if I forgot anyone, I'm sure Yankees for life. I said that. Yep, I got a list. I'm sure I'll be seeing them tonight. Okay, cool.
No worries, no worries. So we talked a little bit about it. I would think it was last night, but so Mush Russo got probation, right? Not probation, but he got out on bail, right? $10 million bail, right?
Right. Yeah.
Vic Arena is still in the can, right?
He's not getting out.
He's not
What's
getting
his
out.
name? Just did a show on Vic, Francis.
Yeah.
Really? What'd
They
he say?
denied him. Yeah,
What
they
did
denied Arena.
What did Francis say, Jay?
No, I just saw the what do you guys call it when you just put that the teaser, I guess, up? I just saw the teaser. I didn't watch it.
Preview or something.
Yeah, I just read it, and it's on my list of things to watch. So,
well, he was in jail when the war happened because he went away in '85. I think he went away.
He's on the same sentence as 85.
Who are you talking about in 85?
Didn't Francisco away in '85?
Yeah, yep.
But Vic Arena didn't go away. When would he go?
No, Vic Arena went away in the '90s, but
92.
When the
He
war
went
happened,
in April of 92.
yeah, when the last Colombo War happened, he was in the can, and he had nothing to do with it. He'd have a dog in the fight. His father at that point.
Wait. Then I'm confused because I thought it was either people sided with the snake or they sided with Vic Arena. I thought.
Right. That's
correct. Well, what I'm saying is he was in jail, so pretty much he was like, even if he probably would have stayed with Persico, but even if he stayed with Persico, whatever his modus operandi was, he was in jail and it was like a non-entity. So then when he got out, that's when he walked away and the war was over. I think he did 10 years in the camp. Pretty sure.
Yeah, he got out in the early 90s, I think.
Well, so I want to go back to Mush Russo, right? So I don't know, maybe I'm too much of a civilian, right? But like as I get older, right, I'm like, you know what? When I get to my 70s and get my 80s, you know what I want to do? Like I want to drink bourbon, if I can still smoke cigars and hang out with grandchildren. You know, why are 87-year-olds still kind of have their finger on the pulse in the mob when they should be in their twilight years enjoying their time? Jason, what do you think?
It's the action, man. It's the action.
Yeah,
you always want to be in the action, and then you got the power too. You know.
What do you think, Joe?
I think when you take that oath and you're a serious guy, it's for life. I mean, think about John Gotti. Let's say he was 87 and on the streets.
He'd still be.
Who would he? You know, I mean, these guys are like, diehards basically.
I'm like so like amazed by a guy who 87 years old is alive. Like he literally like what did he do so differently in the 60 years that he's been in the mob, right? 60, 70 years that he's been in the mob or associated with the mob. What did he do so different than that of, somebody who was a major player but got whacked? Like what?
Well, one, and it was Persico's cousin, so it was a boss's cousin. So he had like some sort of like, he had access to the hierarchy, right?
Right.
I think I'm actually going to acquiesce to Joe on this one. I understand he's a very super secretive guy, like ultra secretive. Joe, what do you know about him?
About who's secretive? Russo?
Mush Russo. I understand he's not easy to talk to. You can't really get access to. Doesn't show up on a lot of bugs, and is like super secretive.
And that's really what I agree with that, and that's why I said that if he got caught, it had to be someone really close to him that got him. You know, I'm not going to say a relative of his, but it had to be someone he trusted. You know,
Well,
like like Michael Francese's father, Sonny, right? Who ratted on him, his own son?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it had to be someone who was close to him because, like you said, you know, he's just not the type of guy that's out there doing this low key. I mean, he's not, you know, when you see pictures of him, he looks like an old guy, you know, I mean.
Well, again, I always look at it from the business perspective, right? So I think it's like poor leadership on his part. I'll tell you why. Even though he still wants to keep his finger on the pulse, even though he still wants to control the day-to-day action, he should be really far removed from the day-to-day. That means when you're like that old, like let's just say you're a regular guy, right? And you're 87 years old and you have a company, you're still involved day-to-day. That means A, you don't trust your own people, right? Because you're sitting there looking what they're doing. And B, you don't have the right people on the bus. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that has to do with it as well. What do you guys think?
Jason?
I'm sorry, Tom. Repeat yourself. I was looking up something on Mush Russo just now.
No. So what I'm saying is, listen, it's a business, the mob, and he's in a management role. He's basically the CEO, if you will, or president of the Columbos, right? So the fact that like he was involved and got brought up in this pinch shows he was like, and the post did a piece on this too, is that he was pretty involved with day to day, right? So it lends itself to two like kind of issues. Number one, he might not have trusted his underlings to execute, and then B, not just trust them, but they weren't like the right people to execute.
Correct. And I think that's why he would be still on it, still in it, still active. You know, one of those things where, you know, he feels he's got to be around, show face, do it himself, I guess, which is crazy. I had a boss like that. Well, not a boss, an owner of the company I worked for. Yeah. Had 4,000 employees, but the headquarters were in Elizabeth, in down the port. I used to work down at the port.
Oh well.
I was an operation manager. You know, the port where all the ship comes in, the container ships, and all that. This guy every morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, would do his walk. Guy was 85 years old, doing his walk, and like a light bulb, because we had like lights on the dock. Like a light bulb would be out. He's like, "Why is that light bulb out? Why is that not changed?" And we're like, this guy's like worried about light. He's worked his daughter married Nancy Chevelle married Paul McCartney. That's his daughter, Chevelle. So Nancy Chevelle came down to the docks with Paul McCartney on Christmas, and then shook everybody's hand.
Worked like for the MTA or some shit.
Right, but she's a millionaire because of her father, who made money in shipping.
Got it.
Trucking. And now if you look up Myron Chevelle, his brother was whacked. They're Jews, but they're in trucking and shipping in North Jersey, right? In the port. There you go, right? Yeah. So his brother was whacked by, I think, a Genovese, the Genovese syndicate, somebody in there, and he was actually whacked out. Wow. And Myron actually paid off the Teamsters to not infiltrate. And we're talking millions, like literally paid him off to not infiltrate his company.
Well, everybody knows that the docks historically were two Borgatas. One, the Genovese to this day, and then two, believe it or not, the Columbos had a good presence on the docks. But I want to go back to Russo for a second, Joe. Other than him being secretive, I don't know anything about him. Like, what was the skinny on him? What was his deal, Joe?
Well, just to go back a little bit, I want to ask you guys a question. Who was his alleged administration? It was Mush Russo, right? And then who did they identify as the other people in the administration?
Ralph, the guy John Panisi mentioned, Ralph.
Right. Who was Vinny Unions?
Vinny Unions was a captain.
Okay. That right there tells you something. Because for him to put that guy, Vinny Unions, in a prominent spot, which That would be right. He was a captain, but he was right up there with them. What does that tell you about the quality of guys he has around him? When this guy is on tape threatening the guy to kill him in front of his wife and his kids.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be disrespectful to him, but seriously? You didn't realize that you can't do that?
What about the text message? I'm sending you the second message. There's not going to be a third. Like, what is like a bad B movie?
Why would someone in that position even do that? Why wouldn't he just send me or you? You know what I mean? It's like what, a captain speaks that way?
And
how many?
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask how many made members you think the Colombos have?
I think they're in the neighborhood of 100, but I heard as low as 70.
I'm thinking probably 100 or so.
Yeah, but
made guys. Joe, you're saying there's 100 made guys walking around the city right now of the Colombo family?
Yeah, probably.
Here's
why. What I learned from the previous show and what I learned from the interviews that I've done with made guys and associates is that each Borgata kind of has, I think, a number that they adhere to. I think Mikey Scars said at the time the Gambinos was 260. I think the Genovese was in the neighborhood of 300. I heard Lucchese's was 115. I heard the Bananas were 200. I heard the Colombos were around 100 right now. When one guy dies, or I think there's a really long stint in jail, when they pass it around, it'll say, let's say you're in. JSV Capital's getting nominated and he's replacing Bay 8th, right? So they constantly backfill those positions to keep it at that static number no matter what, right? The other part is, and they only make a few guys a year. It's not that many guys die, right? They make a lot go away, but if there's a sweep, they don't make 40 guys. They only make 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 guys a year, right? The only thing is you can't afford in 2021 or these last 5 years to make weak guys. Because if you have 4, 5, 6, if you're 10% of your brigade is weak because they're newer and they don't follow the rules and they're maybe whatever it is, you're going to be in a bad spot and you're not going to sustain.
Yeah. Is there strength in numbers anymore? Or if you were running it, you'd want, you know what? That don't fly anymore.
The way everything has been explained to me, again, from the previous podcast and other people that I spoke to, in the life, out of the life, offline and online, it really all matters who your captain is and your crew is. So you can be a strong crew. Like Joey Amato's crew was very strong in the Colombo family, right? And you can argue, aside for them being serious hitters, you can argue they're the weakest of the bunch if you count, finances, how many people are in jail, numbers. But Joey Amato's crew was a serious crew, right? Versus you can be in a serious family and have a weak crew, right? So I think it matters who your captain is and who your crew is, which is kind of like the family within the family.
Gotcha.
An example is in the 1980s, let's say, right? Greg Scarpa's crew. Was there really a tougher crew than that?
Not really.
More deadly or more feared? I mean, there was a lot of guys, but they were always the third or fourth tier organization. So he's right. It's I think mainly it's the crews,
I think the reason why they were third and fourth tier, maybe even fifth, is because go back to Joe Gallo, there was not one, but 2 wars with the Bucks, right? So the Gallo wars were 2 separate, I believe, and if you guys know right below, I think there were a total of 3 Colombo wars.
Yeah, there was. Yep.
So you're now fractioning every time, losing some guy, and then in the last one in the 90s, I Jason, you were a little younger, but Joe and I are the same age. There was a body dropping every week. It was fucking nuts. I was 18 years old, and the Bagel Kid got killed. All these guys, they killed 15, I think 10 to 15 guys. That's a lot of guys when your brigada is that small.
My grandfather was partners with a guy named Benny Sidge. Now, Benny Sidge's old man was killed in the 60s, but he was the Colombo number 3 guy.
Oh wow.
He was the consig. Yep. So
Interesting.
they were always killing their people, man. Always.
Well, I was reading a post about a guy on I saw it on YouTube, and he was a guy that he was very unhappy with Thomas DeBella, and a lot of guys
Right.
were unhappy with Thomas DeBella, but Thomas DeBella was a predecessor to Persico, and Persico was very strong back then as a captain. But they called him to a meeting and they killed him, and he was one of the guys made in 75, 76, when they reopened the books. So I think they killed him because he was like speaking subversive about DeBella and trying to line up guys to get him, and they got him first. But what's interesting is they're just like again, just like any organization, right? There's a culture, there's where you do things, right? The Colombos have always been involved with internal strife. The Lucchese's have always been kind of involved with fake wires or killing informants or going after informants that may not have been informants, ergo Al Diarco and Chiodo. And I obviously don't know these guys, but I understood Chiodo and Diarco were like stone cold. So the fact that those guys flipped was like kind of a big deal. So it looks like these families make these same errors over and over and over, and they don't learn from their mistakes. What do you guys think?
They tried to kill Fat Pete. They just missed, They try to get him on Bay and the Getty station on the corner. Bay and Highland, I think it is.
Wow.
Or no, off of Fingerboard Road, maybe. Off of Bay Street, they try to shoot him when he was getting his car fixed, but he lived basically.
Yeah, and I heard he shot back.
Yeah.
So it goes to tell you, back then they carried guns, they packed heat. Like, so it was like if you got shot at.
What do you mean they don't now?
You're shooting at somebody. There's a good chance they're shooting back.
He pled guilty.
Who's that?
He pled guilty, Chiodo, and I think that pissed, but then again, it was Anthony Casso, so he was crazy. I mean, you didn't need much provocation or anything, to
Joe,
be on the wrong side of him.
When they went after his sister, were you in Brooklyn or Vegas at the time?
That was 1992, Vegas.
Okay. But obviously you heard about it.
But I was back and forth always, I'd spend time there, come back.
So I just remember, like, again, we were younger.
Yeah, I was 16.
And I was like, holy shit, like, they never go after families. What's going on? What was your thoughts being kind of like a local Brooklyn guy? What was the word on the street? Like, what was going on?
Honestly, I don't see, like, it didn't surprise me because they've killed women before. If you really think about it, okay, so for example, Angelo Seppi.
Yes.
You know who he is?
Yeah, he was involved.
Lufthansa, exactly. Yeah. He was with a girl. They killed him and the girl.
And the bike rap, right?
Yeah, and then also they got the girl Mary Barry. They killed her because they thought she was going to rat out Alley Boy's location. It was his girlfriend.
Wow.
Scarpa did that work.
Yeah.
And then I know Roy DeMeo crew, they killed a woman because this guy was involved in their crew. And
why did Tommy Karate kill his girlfriend? I forget that story. Some sick story. Tommy Karate, he killed his girlfriend.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, does anybody remember that story? Why he killed it was horrible what he did to her, and I forget the story why he did it.
That she gave his Tommy's girlfriend drugs that killed her. But they've killed girls, believe me. Women have been killed.
Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me.
And supposedly he warned her too. It wasn't like, hey.
Yeah, exactly.
So like I guess she obviously had some issues with drugs. She was kind of like the bad influence. He warned her. She obviously didn't heed his warning, and then she ended up dead. The Barry killing, Joe, was that something we learned later when a lot of these guys rolled, or was it?
Yeah, definitely.
Or did the street know back then the Colombos did it?
The streets might have known, but I was 7, 8 years old at the time, so I didn't know. But then by 1990, some early 90s, it was out at that point. But I
Well,
think the girl, they made her disappear, I think.
I think so too.
I think they chopped her up.
Now I remember like our era, Joe, in Brooklyn. I would say the Colombos were very strong in Brooklyn back then, like very strong. And I remember, the story when they went to get Scarpa and say, "Hey, which side are you going to go?" And he was still kind of feeling it out.
Right.
You know, he was leaning towards Persico, and he's always a Persico guy, but he was like, he was trying to weigh things out. When they showed up, the Persicos, they were like 70 deep, like some crazy, not like 50, maybe the minimum 30. And these were obviously some made guys, some associates, etc. So like the Persico family ran very deep in terms of numbers as well, right? We always talk about, well, what's the definition of strength? I can't imagine numbers don't come into play. So in that era, man, the Persicos were strong. Think about it. Carmine held on the reins from jail up until he died, which is insane. You know what I mean?
Wait a minute. He still had power all those years.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He was still calling the shots.
Yes.
All those years.
He had his whole family was involved.
Yeah.
Son, nephew, cousins.
The play has to be. Here's the play. The play has to be. We're keeping him out as boss because he's already serving 3 life sentences. So why not? He's already in jail. Has to be. Why would you keep a guy who's locked up for the rest of his life? Why would any organization keep him on?
But how do you can't, and allegedly you're not the boss could do what he wants. Who's going to overthrow him?
The captains. The captains say, all right, sorry. Hey,
the difference in
hey, Junior, you're away for 3 life sentences. We got to move on with the business, man. Sorry, Junior.
That's what happened.
Got together and we held a panel and we voted.
So you're right and you're wrong. You're right where that's done, right? But the boss, you ever hear the boss is the boss is the boss, right? And if you're old school Cosa Nostra, what the Persicos were, he was the boss. Number 2, remember, you had his brother, you had his son. I think he has like 3 nephews. Like their lineage, their blood lineage within the family had to been 8 or 9 deep at minimum, not counting associates. So that power.
Russo?
What's up?
Andrew Russo?
Yes, Andrew Russo's his cousin. So my point being is the guys that would maybe be there to vote him out are his Gumbade. So they're going to keep him
right.
The other part, Jason, you got to understand too. That's why you have an acting boss or a street boss. The day-to-day stuff the street boss will do. The jail boss is like the business version is like a chairman, more like a chairman emeritus, like the bigger, like maybe are we gonna make 5 guys? Are we gonna get in or out of
the figurehead basically?
Yeah. So they can delegate the bigger decisions, and the street boss or the acting boss.
Okay. The commission is going to make a decision. The commission is going to. Do they have to get a vote in by Junior or Junior say on something, or they're going to? I mean, Junior has to chime in, or no? The acting boss just speaks.
If the commission was still involved, they would send somebody. I remember Jerry Lang sat on the commission and he wasn't like the boss because Persico couldn't stay out of jail. So Jerry Lang sat in for him.
Right. Yep. That was the thing, Jason, was a lot of the guys said he's got life. He can't do this, but he still had people loyal to him on the street. So what would happen is the family members and his upper echelon people, if the reins of power go to someone else, well, that boss now controls the purse. You know what I mean?
Right,
the money.
Right.
So it's like, it's a battle for, and that's exactly what happened. And they started killing each other.
Are the Genovese and the Gambinos the only ones the only families that didn't break out into a war, an inner war?
I don't think so. I mean, you could argue that the Castellano hit was a kind of a micro war.
There was no war there.
No, but well, internal strife. But the short answer is no. You're right. I think you're
So
right.
the Genovese, no war. I mean, yes, their boss was what back in the 50s. Who was the boss before Vito?
Frank Costello.
Yeah.
They tried to do a hit on him, but it wasn't successful. But either way, there was no wars with the Genovese.
No war now.
Gambino.
But there might be no war per se, like, guys are roaming the streets looking for one another. But after Castellano was killed, think about what happened after that. Frankie DeCicco they got.
Yeah.
Who else did they get? Eddie Lino, Bobby Borriello.
Yeah.
So it might not have been a war, but things were happening. Those guys that were killed were top guys.
Yeah.
The underboss got killed, and then you look at Eddie Lino, he was with John Gotti. Bobby Borriello was his was his driver. So
Joe,
killed next to him.
Yeah. Joe, the Gambinos were strong back then, right? Obviously. But the chin, whether you use Casso, let's call it is the real power was the chin, right? And Casso was a hammer, right? They killed Borriello, they killed DeCicco. Why didn't Gotti exact revenge?
That's a good question. I mean,
because they had the shooters.
The thing is, with Eddie Lino, he was killed in November of 1990.
Eddie Lino wasn't that Eddie Lino was Ruggiero? Or am I thinking the other Lino?
No, Eddie Lino was he was close to Gotti's brother Gene. He was involved in that whole drug case with them.
And they hit it, but didn't they hit him because Casso was at odds with Ruggiero?
Yeah, they tried to kill Casso. That wasn't Eddie Lino though. That was Mickey Boy Paradiso, allegedly.
Got it. So we're going to go back to why do you think Gotti was strong? He had shooters.
So Eddie Lino was killed in November of 90. A month later, Gotti was in jail. Then Borriello was killed when he was in jail. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he didn't know where it was coming from. Do
you think DeCicco? Well, they knew with DeCicco, they knew it had to have been either Casso or Chin, right? Had to be, right? Do you think maybe they went to him and said, "Listen, an eye for an eye"? Like, because I think the only reason they blew up DeCicco, Chin blew up DeCicco, was because to show his guys you can't kill a boss. Because if people see that you can kill a boss, every boss is at risk. So I think the commission got together and said, "Fuck that. We need to show these fuckers that you can't kill a boss. Ergo, your house shaking at 10 years old. Ergo, the bomb that was around the corner." You know what I mean?
Another thing that plays into it that I think weighed into DeCicco getting killed was Sammy had said that Frankie DeCicco spoke to Casso about the hit before it happened. He didn't give his approval, but he didn't say anything about it either. So maybe Casso was trying to cover his ass at that point, because if DeCicco, he's the underboss. If it got out that he went to these people, he couldn't go to the Chin, Gravano said.
Yeah.
But he went to the other guys. So
interesting.
Yeah. But with Casso, it's very, very, you can't really put a finger on what his motives were.
You think Gotti? Now I know they kind of like Gotti went away, and then they like came to power, and I don't know how much overlap there was. But you think Gotti was not scared in any way of Musso and Gas?
Didn't they come come after him?
Well, that was the
I thought they buried the hatchet.
No. Am I mixing these stories? Did they go after Sammy? No, Casso. I thought they literally were shooting at Gotti, right?
No.
And Gotti got away? Or is that Sammy? Who am I mixing this up with?
Neither.
I'm gonna check that out.
No, the guy that busted a shot at when they were in Queens, they killed that guy. He wasn't with anyone. He was just a freaking
weirdo.
He was a Looney Tune. Yeah, his name was Chacon, William Chacon or something. They killed him. Yeah, they said he fired a gun at Gotti standing outside, 1 or 2 shots or whatever. They chased him down, caught the guy, brought him to Staten Island. Yeah, that was another thing. They brought the guy to Staten Island to torture him. They brought him to a candy store. They bring him in the fucking basement of the candy store. They torture the guy. Then finally they realize he wasn't with it from another family or whatever. So they kill the guy. They leave with the body in the basement. That night, someone breaks into that store.
The candy store, right?
The body's in the basement. And the cops found out that way.
Jesus.
The candy store, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it in Staten Island?
Yeah, it was on New Dorp Lane. Yep.
Well, they brought the body all the way from Howard Beach to Staten Island.
Yep.
And the store was owned by a wise guy, obviously.
Yeah. The guy who owned the Ravenite.
Oh, shit.
The old man, yeah. Yeah.
You can't make that shit up. That's bad luck. That's just...
Tell me about it, yeah.
So, I was thinking this, actually. I was thinking that because Bilotti wasn't part of the commission trial, right? I don't believe. He wasn't under indictment, I don't believe.
No.
I'm thinking that part of the reason why they got rid of both of them is I think they were worried that if Castellano goes away and Bilotti would become the boss, I heard they fucking hated him.
No, he would have retaliated. He had to go. He had to go because if they just killed Paul and left Bilotti alive, A, he would have retaliated, and B, he would have been the boss.
No, that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is part of the reason why they probably did the hit on both of them is because people are like, why didn't they just leave Castellano alone? He was going away anyway. Well, he was going away, but then Bilotti would have just filled his shoes.
And his nephew, Tommy Gambino.
Did anybody ever find it weird that, like, I know, like, I get he was his driver, his right-hand guy, but he was the underboss. Anybody ever think it was weird that the underboss would be a driver?
No. I always say the driver always becomes the boss. Yeah. Because the driver is with the boss all the time, and he sees how they conduct business.
True.
And you're always with them. Yeah, I always said the chauffeur is the best job.
Why was Tommy Bilotti so disliked?
I mean, I don't know if he was disliked, really. I mean, maybe that, he was a little bit, crazy or whatever. That rubbed people the wrong way. Like they said he had no class or whatever, but.
Yeah, very uncouth, I heard. He has nine kids, I heard. He had 9 kids.
I believe so.
Who? 9 kids?
Tommy Bilotti.
Yeah. But his kids are good kids.
Yeah, I don't think any of his kids got into the life, I don't think, right, Joe?
I don't think so either. But like my wife is friends with Tom Bilotti Jr.'s wife. And he's a good guy. I don't know him personally, but my wife is friends, like I said, with his wife, and she's a nice lady, Rachel, and they have kids, and he works or whatever. Yeah, I believe he was in construction. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's straight.
Yeah, yeah.
Paul would have been boss from jail, got it prison in Brooklyn. That's true, Kenneth. Kenneth's right. They were gonna, because once those tapes got out, they were definitely gonna break them up or kill them.
Yeah.
There's just no way.
Then you got to look at it. Look at how much money was on the table. It's like,
especially back then, yeah.
You're talking about millions of dollars. I mean, people die for less.
Yeah.
I wonder,
like, with Paul, I guess the rank and file must have been terribly unhappy because there wasn't a civil war. There wasn't guys loyal to Paul. It wasn't like there was like 10 guys that were like, oh, screw you guys. You killed our leader. You know, I want that spot, or screw you, John. It's almost like they kind of wanted it because I think he was.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. Do you realize what he did, Gotti? He killed the freaking guy in Manhattan.
I know.
The cops are everywhere. People were scared shitless. Think about who would do that?
Right.
His own. And the thing is, think about the people that actually were the shooters.
Yeah. No,
Look, guys, you get him.
Joe Watts, Burial.
If you don't, kill yourself.
Yeah.
Now, those guys rolled up on him. Now, you can't tell me there wasn't cops down there.
Yeah, true.
I go to the city all the time. My wife works there. Believe me.
Yeah.
Christmas, she was saying, oh, it's Christmas time, my wife. You know, maybe it wasn't as packed, but it was still a ton of people.
Well, that's the thing, right? So they made their move, and you're right. You're either crazy, which they were, and powerful to pull that off, like a sitting boss on the commission. And you could have argued that he was a boss of bosses back then. It wasn't like he was just like a boss,
Right.
but him and Jim were probably 1 and 2, if not 2 and 1, you know?
Yeah. This wasn't a situation where, you know, they killed 3 captains in a social club and then carry them out the next day.
Correct.
This was like right in front of everyone's face, and that really scares people. I mean,
well, Sammy in his podcast said they anticipated going to war. So they hit out, I think, a month or 2 before, and then obviously hit out afterwards. But then we're like, you know what? Like, not easy sailing, but there wasn't a lot of pushback.
but they didn't feel. I listening to Sammy, which I have. I don't think he thought there was going to be a problem from within his family. He thought there might be a problem with the other bosses.
Oh, okay. Well, and that's kind of what happened.
Mainly Chin.
So do you think? I don't think this would have helped. If anything, would have tipped probably Castellano off. But politically, do you think maybe Gotti should have tried to get back channel approval, or he never would have got it, and he probably would have ended up dead?
Back channel approval from who?
Like maybe go to the other underbosses or the other bosses.
Did. They did. They just didn't go to Chin.
Let me ask you a question.
They went to, there's all tape recordings of it. Jerry Lang, they went to him. They went to all of them, and they got like, you know, screw Paul. And then the other thing you got to realize is, so I guess there was like a split in the family back then. Like you had Neil Delacroce and his, I don't know how many crews he had under him, but he had, you know, group of guys under him, captains, and Paul had his.
Yeah.
Now you got to figure Gotti was his protege.
Yeah.
Gotti was his successor. So right there, he probably had half the guys on his side already. And when he made the move.
But here's what I've always wondered about John Gotti, right? So typically, you know, obviously he was his own man. That's what everybody loves about him. Nobody can say anything other, right? But is sometimes when you're a protege and you have a mentor, a lot of times you will take the characteristics of your mentor because that's what you're taught. But he was the antithesis of Neil Delacroce. You know, so what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I mean, what do you say? He was a complete opposite. Wasn't he? Didn't he sleep with his daughter? Neil Delacroce's daughter? Never fair with her?
Allegedly.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Allegedly had a kid with her. That's Ernie Grillo's stepdaughter or his daughter that he brought up.
Yeah, they were completely different, those two. What happens with all that business? All right, so Paul and the Chin are doing business. The Gambinos and the Genovese, they got this going on. They got the window thing. They got this thing. Now what happens? Paul's gone. What do they do?
It keeps on going.
So John steps in. Gotti steps in and gets the money?
Yeah, he puts his people in. Yep.
Yeah, that's the way it works.
So the Chin, who was trying to kill John, and because John killed a boss, doesn't say he's going to kill him, but he says, "Hey, keep sending him the envelopes." That's how
that's why that world is so treacherous, right? Because they'll sit down and meet. Like, for example, when the 26 captains met with Gotti, nobody sat there and said, "Oh, we did it." They couldn't say anything, even though they knew he did it. He couldn't say he did, right? The same thing with the Chin. When the Chin dealt with the emissaries, or the Beast guys dealt with the emissaries for the Gambinos, they had like everything was cool and kosher, even though it wasn't. That's why that life is like I give those guys credit in a way, because it's just like constant treachery and the chess moves and the Machiavellian and this and that and that and this. And I can't imagine it doesn't weigh on you, but yeah, they look at you in the eye, and then
so business as usual. Everybody gets their envelopes. Everybody gets everything. Keep on moving.
I'm pretty sure that's how it went. Definitely, yep.
Yeah.
Business is business. It's not going to stop.
Yep.
You know what was going to happen? So Paul and Bilotti are out.
Right. And if I'm the Chin,
Paul wasn't the guy handling that, though. He had people there. He had his associates there. So now, Paul had someone, let's say, controlling a certain union. Well, when he's gone, Paul, Gotti would have an option of keeping that guy in that position, or removing him and putting his own, putting his own guy in that position.
What do you do? Yeah.
That's just how it works. But they're not going to stop doing business with each other. There's way too much money at stake. And how could they stop it? It would
not stop doing business. My thing would be like the Chin would just say, "Fuck you, I'm taking it over." Like, I ain't giving you shit.
They don't really have, like, although especially back then the commission was very organized and they met, and there was probably a little like politics. Maybe I think like Jerry Lang was like kind of cozied up with Lucchese's, and the Lucchese's were cozied up, and the Bananas weren't even involved. So so it's like it's politics, man. It's like Jay, it's politics, and you have to navigate through this treacherous water, and it's political. But the best part is you don't get fired; you get killed. You know what I mean? When you fuck up,
there's no severance package.
Agreed. But that's why. That's the other thing too. Like the fact that Gotti would talk about murders after they happen, I just thought that was like a little. I can't find the word. I don't want to say immature. I don't want to say immature is not the right word. But like as a leader, as a boss, you got to set by example. So for him to talk about it, I just think that's nuts.
Like Sonny Francis said, once it's over, we never talk about it again. We do a bank job, we kill a guy. If you ask me about it, I'll act like I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So Joe, let me ask you this, and Jason, you're not too far behind us in age, but here's the thing: all this stuff was going on with us growing up. We saw the treachery, we saw the nonsense, we saw the backstabbing, the killing.
Mm-hmm.
Why did and again, not that maybe less and less guys our age got in, right? But still, some guys still got into the life. The life was on a serious demise back then. Why do you think guys still went in? That are our age now, that are in the life now, whether they're in jail or not, why the hell do you still think they went in the life despite seeing all this?
Because there's money to be made.
The money.
You got to look at it like this. So I told you my story, right? So when I was 24, I meet my dad. My dad gets me a job, a high-paying job.
Yeah. What
happens if I don't meet him and I don't get a high-paying job? How am I going to support myself? And these people, they
And then you would be like Bay 4th.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be Bay 12th. So, but I think it's just money and like everything that goes along with it.
Yeah. But that's the other part too, though, right? Like I know a lot of Italian families, not as much now. A lot of Italian families. I don't know if we're gonna be on in an hour. That might be pushing it, but the father will be construction and the son will take over, second generation, not as much third, but second generation, right? I'm just surprised that there weren't more second generation mobsters. A lot of mobsters that got into life, so they weren't even like necessarily connected, or their father wasn't a wise guy. A lot of Scott,
Right.
I understand Gotti's father wasn't a wise guy. A lot of these guys weren't quote unquote, connected,
But a lot of them were too.
Well,
You know,
yeah. Go ahead.
you know who said Calandra? He said something that makes sense. When he was growing up in that neighborhood, the bad guys ruled the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like if you came home and said, "Hey, I got straight A's in school," they were giving you a pat on the back. They were giving you a pat on the back for breaking someone's window or doing some minor criminal act. And when you start getting the adulation from these guys for doing stuff like that, you're like, okay, I think I could do this. And then,
Good point.
it goes from there.
It reinforces negative behavior. It's like acceptable in that neighborhood. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Michael.
That's right. That was the graveyard. But you know what I found interesting about that hit? The Bananos carried it out, right? But the Gambinos hid the bodies.
I'm not sure about that.
Well, I 100%. But I want to say maybe I don't want to speak out of school, but I'll look it up before I say anything. But I'm pretty sure it was Gotti approved and the Gambinos helped get the bodies.
Of course.
But think about like the trust factor you have back then. Like, because now you have all these different guys on the supply chain, if you will, know of that murder, and then Rico works. So one is on it. You have a conspiracy plus Puerto Rico. They're going away for life. So it just kind of shows you the trust. Like nowadays, if there were a hit, Gotti crew to the disposal. Thanks, Kenneth. Who was it, Kenneth? Specifically, allegedly. So I think I know, but I do not want to speak out of school.
They didn't do a good job, though.
Well, yeah, and then who told them about the graveyard? They found a kid.
They found one guy a few
They
weeks
found the one
later.
body, but somebody
Sonny
else.
Red. Joe Messino told them.
That's nuts. I still don't get the Joe Messina role. That's
Yeah.
Did you see my second? You heard I think you texted me. You heard the second interview with Frank Fridolino, right?
Yeah, I was listening to the second half of it today. Yeah.
I'm telling you, like I'm kind of fascinated with that era, and I hate to say it, I don't want to glorify like bad things, but like he was crazy. Like he talked about how he popped somebody in a social club and another one he killed, but that's how it was back then. Do you know what social club that was, Joe? Do you remember?
What?
The social club that he did, because he didn't want to mention it, or he didn't mention it, and people kept messaging saying, "Oh,
I'm not sure."
Yeah,
I didn't hear that part.
Yeah, because I was just wondering, but I mean, guy was a serious dude, and what's interesting was I listen. I know like people don't want to hear this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I do feel his story is a little bit different than other stories. Yeah. I don't think he necessarily super wanted to get made. I don't think that was like his.
Who's this?
Frank Fridolino. Like he even says it because I'm trying to get from him his arc. Like did you want to get made? Were you salty other guys who got made over you? What was your jam? What was your head at? And he's like, no. He's like, it wasn't. It was one of he was a little bot, so he kind of admitted it. But number two, I think he was comfortable being where he was, which I actually kind of respect that,
Yep. Listen, I gotta step off for a minute.
Yeah, we're gonna because I'm dead tired from the thing. You gonna be back in a minute, or you want to like we'll stay on and have
a couple of minutes. Couple of minutes.
All right.
All right.
What we'll do is we'll stay on until you come back.
Okay, cool.
I had a long trip.
It is 1:15, brother.
Yeah.
What
How was the trip? Good.
Yeah, good trip. Got a lot of business done. Numbers are good on the podcast. Last podcast did really well, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
And I got some good guests next week, so I'm excited about that. These lives, I kind of like the whole Four Horsemen idea. People seem to like it, so that's good. No, I mean, it just show wise, things are good. I don't like to travel as much as I used to. Like, I don't like being away from like Jocelyn, the kid.
Oh, you weren't feeling it this time.
Well, it's not that I like being away, but what I'm saying is generally you go to a conference and generally a certain level of excitement and like you learn new things or there's new like exciting things going on. So maybe you're missing your family is exceeded by kind of the excitement of the professionalism or whatever, right? These conferences, I don't know. I think conferences in general are in trouble. I think between like COVID happening as well as like just people not with technology. Do you really need to go to a hall and hang out with 2,700 people when you can just go on like maybe a virtual one and do it for your own home?
Right.
Thank you, Sandy.
Guess who's back?
There he is. All right, so we got what's his name? Lincoln said, if I'm going to spend 8 hours cutting down a tree, I'm going to spend 7 hours sharpening my saw, right? And we don't have to sharpen the saw now, but I want to start setting up the topics. Jason's a researcher. I don't know if you know that, Joe. And I think, Joe, you know a lot too, so you're probably a researcher too. But Jason is a researcher.
Right.
So we should either over group text, over maybe a private Zoom. We should set up an agenda for the next few, like even weeks, of the stuff we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
I love on the fly. Nobody loves it better than me. I don't prepare for anything. But Jason, I know, is a researcher. I know you kind of are. So what are some of the things you want to talk about? Because I have an idea.
Well, me and Jason, we had spoken last week about the financial aspect of how these guys make money, what they did and stuff like that. That's something that we probably should look into.
I'd like to also, like, granular level. I want to know the gambling, not just at a half sheet. Okay, great, you had a half sheet. Then what goes here? What goes to are there still the rooms? Is it all internet? Like, how is it like like the Costa Rican rooms? If they're one-sided, who do they lay it off to? I want to go from like the doctor calling his bookie all the way to the Costa Rican wire room. So that's something you should research. And if you get a guest on that, that'd be good too.
And then we talked about going on location. That's always something
that's gonna be good. That's gonna be
and
good.
then just debating topics, because I'm pretty sure me and Jason agree on a lot, but I'm sure we disagree on a lot too.
Jason will disagree just to disagree.
I know the Mohawk disagrees, so
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No,
Well,
I mean, definitely get into some current events. Keep that up.
We always talked about, Tom, is also not just the mob stuff too. I mean, there's things that are going on in our lives that affect our lives basically.
Right.
What do you think? What do you think? Should Alan Baldwin get charged?
No. Jesus.
What do you think?
No.
Joe?
No.
You know what? I'm not going to say he should get charged because we don't know the facts of it.
Yeah.
What are the facts? Was he toting the gun around, flipping it on his finger, pointing it at people? Was he doing that? Because I don't know how he would shoot someone that's not in the scene.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know how it just. What was he testing it? I mean, I don't know.
Well, that's what the investigation will bring out.
Right.
And they said right away, right as soon as it happened, it was said it was an accident. Nobody said that he was doing any of that crazy stuff, And then you got to feel like people just don't this guy is first of all, the mother, she's a mother, she was a wife. That poor lady's dead. right? And now all this stuff, comes out in the news, and Alec Baldwin. I mean, could you imagine killing somebody by accident, or even killing somebody in general, but just by accident? I mean, he's got to go into some crazy, depressed state of mind, and he's all over the place. I mean, you just feel bad for everybody, and it was an unfortunate accident.
The only thing is, what happens if you're driving home from the grocery store, you're looking at your phone, you accidentally, God forbid, kill somebody, you're looking at vehicular manslaughter. How's this any different?
Well, maybe because it'd be hard to prove that he had intention, or what is manslaughter, like what is the the statute say, but civilly he's going to be.
Oh no, civilly he's on the hook. Because remember, I don't know if you guys know this, he not only was the star of the show and did it, but he's also an executive producer.
Right.
He maybe they'll go after his production company, or they'll go after the studio. They're gonna personally go after him? No.
Civilly? Who knows?
No. When you say civilly, yes, they can go to court and bring his production company and sue him.
No, they'll do both. They'll go after him and an individual.
Right.
And then remember, in his actor contract, he may not be identified for shooting the prop woman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a slippery slope, man. It's civilly, I believe he has a lot of exposure. You know what we'll do, guys? We'll put together behind the scenes. We'll have a content calendar, right?
Right.
And then, like, for something like this, I have this like tool where if I need like a lawyer who like knows this stuff, right? They'll come on with the Four Horsemen, and they'll be like our guests. So if we plan this out correctly, I can get us either a civil or criminal attorney, maybe a former prosecutor,
right?
And we can ask them and have like a subject matter expert on. So if we plan this out correctly, I think we could do it. We could do a nice show.
We got to get Ellie Honig from CNN.
There you go. Oh, everybody keeps telling me that name. Yeah, I would love to. Well, today they said that he may be suffering from PTSD, which is totally understandable. Alec Baldwin, and he did go. Go to the husband of the woman and met with like him and I think her son. So it's just a tragedy. I mean, there's no other way to put it.
Yeah. You know what happened on Staten Island yesterday? There was a 2-year-old girl that was killed, hit by a car. She was hit by a car. The guy was coming. He was in his SUV. He was coming out of a Stop and Shop parking lot. And I don't know who had the right of way or whatever, but he hit her and knocked her down and ran over her. He's not being charged right now. He stayed at the scene, the guy.
Oh, my God.
But who knows? Yeah, I mean, who knows what's going to happen with that? The girl's name was Autumn Garrison, I think her name was. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Sad story. Yeah.
What a shame.
2 years old. I guess she got away from her mother or something. I don't know.
Jesus Christ.
I could see how the driver of the SUV might not have seen a 2-year-old kid. That's probably how tall is a 2-year-old kid?
Yeah.
So
yeah, stuff like that. I'm not going to do shout outs now, but I got some really interesting mail sent in. It's not all negative, believe it or not. And one guy had a really tough go. And there was like a poem that his father wrote for him. And he had a tough go. He lost his brother, lost the other 2 friends. He kind of hit rock bottom, was doing drugs. Now he turned his life around and says he was a big fan of the old and new show. And we kind of brought him some cheer. Another story, and again, I'll do specific shout outs because I don't know like what names I can mention and whatnot.
Right.
So there's another one where I used to get this guy used to message me, and I'm not kidding. He would write me like 3,000 or 4,000 word emails, right? and I'm not gonna lie, like it was interesting because I think he was either former law enforcement or kind of was like knew a lot. He knew more than most, right? So, for example, when I had John over and we did like a live, they noticed I took down the photos and stuff in the back, right? So he was like, good move on that. He was giving me advice. He was like very concerned for me, believe it or not. He was like, listen, just be careful. just like a little out there. I'm not gonna lie, like it was very like, but I didn't know he wasn't well, right? I didn't know. Now it explains it. What happened was his son, he's a junior by same name, writes me, oh, by the way, my father passed. I just want to let you know he loved your show. He loved you, and you gave him a lot of joy in his last like part of his life.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's nuts. So you know what? When I get the troll or I get this or I get that, I go back and I read these emails and say, you know what? Not that I'm doing God's work in any way, but it's pretty cool that people are willing to listen to me or us now, and get away from their day. Tomorrow, what's that? Shine box, what's up, bro? So I want to. So this is going to be a good one. I think. Okay, and I might have to get like an intern on it because I got my guy Mike, who runs the other magazine, has like a few interns. I want to do so. I was at a medical conference, right? And they always talk about outcomes, where you kind of end up, right?
Right.
So I was thinking about outcomes, right? And I kind of talked about it, I think, one of the shows. I want to do like a survey of maybe, let's say, 50 informants. I don't want to do just like 5. Let's say there's 50 informants, right? And what I want to do is I want to see how they ended up, right? How many recidivated, right? How many end up doing drugs? How many got killed? How many end up getting killed? Who suffered depression? Who was successful? Who maybe reinvented himself? And like, I almost kind of want to I don't want to dissuade anybody from informing, but what I'm saying is like, you're like, I'm going to go to jail, right? For the rest of my life. So I'm going to go ahead and tell other people. But the guys that followed your route, how did they end up? What were the outcomes behind that? So when you start peeling back the onion or start peeling back the layers, I like to be objective for this type of research, but I don't think we're going to find a lot of success stories there.
Nope, I agree with you on that one.
But there's some success stories.
No, I'm not saying there's not. But what I'm saying is, I kind of want to, out of 50, how many made it to 80? Out of 50, how many got rearrested? Out of 50, how many led like a good, normal, healthy life? Because you got to think about it, right? You're looking over your shoulder. You were a criminal. Maybe you didn't pick up some good skills or trades. So I think there's a lot of things that I think if it was researched well, why can't we find guy who left with that already? Yeah, I mean that's the other part too. Like I'm actually getting more of an appetite, and I'm telling you, like the Tommy Stiggs show. I thought it was fantastic. The numbers were great on it. It did really well in terms of the views. The audio version did really well too. But I got from some people were like, well, a little boring. He was a nobody. You know what? He didn't roll. Like, I'll take that. That he didn't roll or was a stand-up guy. And maybe, didn't kill 20 people, but he could stand up high where somebody coming in did all those things and put people away. So like, I hope to do more of those type ones where guys like legally and appropriately got away from the life and not talk about current guys,
Yeah. I like
but he
that.
knows what he's talking about, the guy. Tommy, I like him. He came across, clear. He told you what he thought or whatever. If he didn't know something, it wasn't like he embellished, so that's all you could ask for,
Agreed.
Also, we should do you got some really good subscribers, and they have topics. Maybe they, can give us something that they might want us to.
Yeah, feel free. Well, I'm going to post this. We're going to jump off in a minute or so. Feel free to drop in the comments below what you want specifically the Four Horsemen to cover. If you've got to research a little bit, it's not an issue. And then or any lives as well. Listen, we're very open to listening. People know that about us, and for me, I almost over ask questions, over request information. But if you could drop some below, that'd be good.
Yeah, because these guys, they know what they're talking about too.
None. Holy shit.
Yeah, yep, I heard about that.
Yeah, Mark. Tommy's a good dude. I thought it was a great interview. All right, guys, I'm going to pass out. I just wanted to jump on to a live with you guys. Vinny, we sorry we missed you. Vinny popped on super early in the broadcast, and we'll probably do it tomorrow night if you guys are around.
Definitely, yep.
All
I'd
right,
like
brother.
to do one tomorrow.
All right, thank
Remember,
you.
we got to do 60 for 60.
Agreed. Not 90 for 90. Oh, you guys missed it. When Vinny asked me, he goes, because he wants to do it. We'll all do it, right? Friggin', I said it's got to hit 50%. It's at 49% right now.
Maybe if we get involved, I could have some of my family members change it.
Listen, we'll give it a few more days. If it taps 50, we'll do it. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. Good night, everybody.
Yep.
For checking
Thanks,
out the
Marky
NBA.
Mark, Ron Gross, Sandy, Shine Bob.
Anybody interested in college football picks? Me and Vinny got a thing going on Friday nights or Friday late afternoon.
How'd you guys do?
I went 6-1 today.
Really?
6-1 on my picks that I did on the show.
Well, I like Michigan State. You know that, right? There's a reason.
That was one of my picks yesterday.
It's not scientific. You know why? Because Michigan State are guys like us that didn't get into the fucking real Michigan, and we're pissed and we're salty and we want to get back at them, and that's why I went with State.
One way to look at it, yes.
Hey, Luke.
But they're also a very good team this year too.
True. Luke, how are you, buddy? Sorry we're jumping off, but Luke's a good dude. Hey, Luke. You're good for this. We want some content specifically geared towards the Four Horsemen segment. So drop it below in the comments. And guys, I'm passing out. Be good, guys.
All right, peace.
Yankees for life. I'm going to show you that Jeter jersey tomorrow. Have a good one, man.
Joe.